Welcome, Kate.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Karen.
Oh, it's my absolute pleasure. I reckon you're a bloody gun. You're doing amazing stuff. I'm so happy to have you.
Well, coming from you, that's pretty awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't know about that. Yeah, some say I'm a lunatic, but
we'll be good friends then.
That's exactly it. So I've got your second book here, which we're going to talk about. Anyone's watching on the visual, it's here. Thanks for the Mammaries. And Kate also has it in the background of her video. So if you are only listening, go to the YouTube show and watch this. But Kate, thank you for sending me that book. I'm going to talk about it further into the interview. But you've also got another book, as we said in the intro, The Breast Is Yet to Come. Are you holding that up? There we go.
There's that one.
Bras on the front. That's fantastic.
Oh, it's about boobies, so I had to have something there. Bras.
We won't make the whole conversation about boobies, but it is quite poignant, and I lost my sister. Well, she had breast cancer and, had a mastectomy but ended up losing her from other, brain tumor and a lot of other stuff. But I think that, I've seen her go through it, and I imagine you had the same feelings that, you start to, your body becomes, in your mind, deformed, and you're not the whole person that you used to be. And I think that we hear when people have a mastectomy and we kind of say, well, at least they got it, but I think that sometimes we forget about the mental health and the challenge it is for the woman, feeling less of a woman and all those things are not true, but those things that go through your mind. So, boobs are important, and I don't think we realize, how much we're attached to them until we have to deal with those feelings. So would you agree?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Good point. And you actually touched on a point there that I always speak about, and that was, that you're less of a woman. And I used to get asked that so many times, and honestly, hand on heart, I can say I didn't mind having the mastectomy because I knew that was going to get rid of the cancer, or that was my best chance of getting rid of the cancer. However, I didn't know the implications that were going to happen after that. And like you said, the mental health side of things. And, in one moment I'm saying to myself, I don't care that my boob's gone. I'm glad because the cancer's gone. But, it's the ball gets rolling with going shopping changes because you can't, wear certain clothes, or, lots of things get taken away from you and you don't realise that in the moment. So that was a really good point to make, that, a lot of people will brush it off and go, oh yeah, but the cancer's gone. But there's a lot of things that follow that you don't realise are going to happen.
Yeah. And that's a tough, when you just said, a lot of people say, well, at least the cancer's gone. That's actually quite an interesting comment in itself, or part of the journey itself, is that it's a catch-22, because people don't know what to say. And then they say things like, oh, well, at least you've got it, chin up, and stuff like that. And you kind of, for the person hearing that, it's kind of like, well, that's quite dismissive. But on the other hand, it's very difficult for the person with, the other person who's just saying it to you. It's hard to know what to say. Do you know, you want to be positive, and
yeah,
it's difficult.
I myself still don't know what to say. I still don't know what to say to people. And like you said, I've been in that position. I had one woman say to me when I told her I had breast cancer, and she said, oh, it can't be too bad. You've still got your hair.
Oh, dear. Yeah.
And it was like, oh, okay, yeah, you don't get it. So moving right along. But at the same time, that's all she knows about cancer. That's all she's been, someone's got cancer, they go through chemo, they lose their hair, but that's not necessarily the case.
No.
So yeah, talking about it is a big thing in my book. But from the fighter's point of view, like the person that has the cancer, I always say to new people that are coming to me and say, this person said that, this person said that, I bring them back on track and say exactly what you just did. People don't know what to say to you, and people say stupid things. So you just have to keep remembering that they are there to help. They are trying to understand. However, if you don't teach them, or you don't come back with a comment of, well, actually, and like I said, teaching them, they don't know. They don't know. So always remember that people are trying to be there for you and trying to care and trying to understand, but they just don't. And they won't, unless they've been through it. But you can teach them to go, you know what, I know you don't know what to say, and that's okay. I'm just still Kate. Just speak to me like you used to speak to Kate. Just because I got cancer, I'm still me. We don't have to talk about it, but I'm still me. So, yeah just be upfront and say it.
It's just such a difficult conversation, and and everyone's got their own perceived opinions and their own perceived I guess perceptions and understandings about what cancer means, and when I remember when my sister got it, I didn't see C for cancer, I saw D for death, straight away, immediately. That's what I saw. Yep. And it
100%.
So it's a difficult thing, but at the same time, it's got to be spoken about. We have to normalize it. I hate that we have to normalize it, because I hate how indiscriminate cancer is, and it just and particularly kids, but it doesn't matter, anyone going through it. But I just hate it. However, it is more and more prevalent, and I think that it's better if we do talk about it, because then people understand what people are going through, and they also understand, exactly what we've talked about. What should I say? What could I say? That sort of stuff. So what you're doing is absolutely brilliant, in that you're trying to, through your books and through your talks, you're trying to normalize it, or at least bring it to the surface so that people can have conversation about it. And I think it's, wonderful. And this podcast about get off the bench, and you've obviously gotten off the bench. You just continue to get off the bench. You're a go-getter. From the start. Take us back a bit, because you had 3 goals to achieve, right? And you want to be a hairdresser, you want to get married to the man of your dreams, and become a mum. And so you did that, right?
I did do that.
Not everyone.
Not exactly reach for the star dreams like the kids have of today, but they were my 3 dreams. So, yeah.
So you go after everything that you want to do, hence writing the books and that sort of stuff. But beforehand, so you've achieved your dreams, and you're sort of, what's next? What can I achieve next? I'm damn sure cancer wasn't on your to-do list and your go-getter list. So, tell us about the Kate Gale and your big plans for life, the Kate before cancer shook up everything.
This is a really good question, because nobody has ever asked me this before.
I'm
always in that, she's the cancer chick, we're going to talk about that. And I love that we're stepping outside of that. So, like you said, I had my 3 dreams. I have always had a feeling that I was put on this earth to do something big. But what that big is, I have no idea. And I still think I haven't hit that big yet. I'm still climbing that ladder to get to it. But I loved hairdressing. Hairdressing was, from the minute I could walk and talk, I wanted to be a hairdresser. And to get my apprenticeship, and, the husband and the kids just sort of fell into that. But I wanted to go as far as I could with my hairdressing, to be teaching others the skills of the industry, and making people feel good about themselves. Making, it's not, okay, it's a part of the beauty industry, but I wasn't that hairdresser that had to have a hair done, primped and preened, and, I wasn't the typical hairdresser, so to speak. So, yeah, before cancer, it was probably just to make my mark in the hairdressing world in some way, shape or form. But apart from that, I was just a good country girl, really loving family and really close with my family. So, that was my thing. I wanted to be like my mum and dad, and give my kids the upbringing that I had, and at the same time being that awesome hairdresser on the sideline.
Yeah. But that's not a bad dream, because I think that some of us could be a little more content with what we have in front of us and just be grateful for having a good wholesome life, and I think we get a little bit ungrateful at times. So, I know you didn't want to talk about, and by the way, if anyone notices a difference in sound or look, we just had to swap. Kate's computer just crashed on us. So we've and it was making a funny noise too. So we'll just change over to the iPad. But anyway, so you may notice a difference. Maybe it's just me. I'm just anal. Now, Kate, you didn't really want to talk about, we have to talk about the cancer, but I'm glad we talked about who is Kate, behind all that sort of stuff. But, you were only 27. I'm pretty sure that's what I saw, 27. Like, that's still young. You're still having big dreams. You're still kind of, I'm going to do my hairdressing dreams, and I don't need to be, a New York runway show pony, but I still want to do that. And so tell us about your diagnosis. Like, and the reason I want to get into it a little bit is because I think that, I guess we all think, I know, look, I'm young, I'm not going to get stuff like that. I don't need to check, we need to be better at that. We need to take care of ourselves a lot more. And I can talk, but we do. So maybe what you say will prompt somebody to, just pay a bit more attention to themselves. So, yeah.
Absolutely. Well, my diagnosis came about when I was in the salon, and I was talking to a client who was very guarded every time I went around her left side, and she'd sort of, pull away from me. And I thought, what is going on here? Has she got like a nervous twitch, or, what's happening? And I said to her eventually, I said, are you okay? And she said, oh, I'm sorry. I've just been diagnosed with breast cancer. I've just had surgery, and I'm scared every time you go around that side that you're going to hit, knock me, and it's going to be sore. And of course, straight into the whole, oh my goodness, I'm so sorry that you've been diagnosed with cancer. But then that dialogue going over in your head of, crap, what do you say, to this woman? But thankfully, she actually saved me in that moment, because she started to speak, and she said, now I hope you do your breast checks. And I said, yeah, of course I do. And that wash of guilt just came straight over me, because I never had done a self-breast examination. The only time that my breasts had been checked was by my obstetrician when I was pregnant with both of my girls. So here I am lying to this client, but yeah, I had checked. But the next morning I was in the shower, and I thought of her, and I thought, do a self-breast examination, Kate. So I did, and to my horror, so 12 o'clock, right at the top of my right breast, I found a lump. So, yeah. So,
well,
in the big scheme of things, that woman saved my life, because it was a roller coaster from then on. I went straight to the doctor, and I got checked, and I got told, you've just got mastitis. I'd not long finished breastfeeding Gemma, my youngest. And that didn't sit right with me, because I thought, I'm not sick. I'm fine. Like, I've got a lump, but I don't have any other mastitis symptoms. So 3 weeks later, and I kept feeling this lump, and it was bigger. And so I went back to the doctor, and I said, look, I'm just a bit, weirded out about it, because it's bigger, and it's sore. And she said, well, that's a good sign, because breast cancers aren't sore. I went, yeah, righto. So off I go. Had another ultrasound, and get told that it's just mastitis. And then a week later, Gemma climbed over me, and she put her elbow into my boob, and I nearly went through the roof.
Wow.
And I went back to the doctor, and I was actually sitting in the waiting room, and I'm talking to myself thinking, Kate, you're over-exaggerating. Like, you've been a hypochondriac. You've been here twice before to have this looked at. There's nothing wrong with it. Like, just forget it, go away. And I stood up to walk out, and the doctor came out and called my name. And I went in, and I just burst into tears, and I said, something is not right. And I feel like I'm taking up so many people's time and energy in this, but something is not right. And she sent me for a mammogram at that point. And she did say to me that it may not show anything because young women, breast tissue is still too dense to actually see through the mammogram. But we've been there, done it with an ultrasound twice, so let's go another avenue. So I had that done and I went home, and it was about 2 hours later, she called me and she said, Kate, is somebody with you? And I said, oh, I've got the girls are here with me. And she said, where's Bob? I went, he's at work. And I said, come on, just give it to me. And she said, Kate, it looks malignant. And she said, I've actually booked you in to see the breast surgeon 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. So what came from, a client just saying to me, do breast checks, and thank God she started that conversation, because, I wouldn't have found it, and I wouldn't still be here. Yeah.
Wow,
so
God.
Very great.
There's two parts to that. One is that, people do come in. It's almost like when we're not paying attention, the universe sends people in, almost like angels, sends them in to alert us. And, we need to be noticing, when things like that are a little bit not right, because her dodging you, it's kind of like, it's enough to set your mind going, what the hell, this isn't normal, that sort of stuff. But the other part to that is, I don't care who's listening, and I don't care who disagrees with me, don't trust your doctor. And I'm going to say that 1,000 times, because I've had the same with I've had my thyroid out, and 3 times I went back and they said there's nothing wrong, and I kept persisting. But it's, and that wasn't cancerous, thank God, but it could have been, and it could have been a disaster. And I just think that we intuitively know our bodies, and I think it's embarrassing. You feel like, oh, they're the authority, I'm not. I'm going to think I'll look at me like I'm a hypochondriac, all the things you're saying. But I think if we don't, we only get one shot. We only get one body, and we get one shot. And so what if you're wrong? Because isn't it better to be wrong and be embarrassed than to
That's
be
exactly right.
Right and be dead? So it's really, I don't mean to say that in such a brutal way, but at the end of the day, if you don't pick up these things, your body can only take so much, and it overcomes you. So I'm glad you've talked about that, because we put so much faith in doctors, and they're not always right. They're human beings as well.
That is exactly right what you just said. They're human beings, and they do make mistakes. And it's not necessarily that I didn't trust my doctor. I did trust my doctor. I just knew something else was not right. So I always say that to patients from now on that I speak to. If you don't feel comfortable with your doctor, you find another one. Yeah, and don't think that that's going to hold up your treatment and stuff. It's not. It's like you need to 100% trust who you're putting yourself in the hands of, because, going through it, like you said, your body takes so much, but your mind takes a hell of a lot more. So if you're struggling with, your mind, and that you don't feel comfortable, and that you feel that they're not listening to you, or something's not right, like you need up here to be right before you can tackle anything else.
Yeah, 100%. And I think we're bad at that. We're terrible at that. We think, well, I've got to focus on my body. But if your mind controls your body, I don't care what anybody says. If your mind's not right, your body's bloody useless. And we have to be on it. We have to be feeling good about ourselves mentally. Now, that you wrote the book, The Breast Is Yet to Come, in 2012. What year did you get? What year was your diagnosis?
So I actually started writing it in 2008. So that was the year of my diagnosis.
Okay.
And I didn't publish until 2012. But I wrote it as a diary. Yeah. It was my therapy. Like, get things down onto paper, and my thoughts. And I suppose the biggest thing when I was going through it, and I still carry this a lot with me, I felt guilty that I was doing this to my family. And I know that it wasn't my choice to get cancer, but I needed them to hold me up. I had a really big brick wall in front of me, and from the outside looking in, you would have thought that I was just the strongest person that you could ever imagine going through this. But I felt like if I offloaded to people and they saw some cracks, that they would start to crumble too.
Yeah.
And I couldn't have them crumble. I needed them to hold me up. So writing, that was my outlet. That was my, I'm having a shit day, I'm going to put it down. Or, you know, I feel this or I feel that, I'm angry or I'm bloody, you know, happy, I'm hungry, whatever, I put it down. And it was never, ever put down to be made into a book. That wasn't what I was going for. That was my diary. That was just my therapy. So
oh, well, I love it. And I love the title. The breast is yet to come, so that, you know, like for getting a fake boob, you know, that's the first bit. But and also it also sort of inspires a bit of hope, you know, that there is hope, there is optimism. You know, I am counting on, you know, getting through this and you know, coming out the other end. But I also love that I love that it's a journal. I love that. And because the reason is that, you know, people can write books on this is how it works and this is how it is, and it, you know, that kind of stuff and all the factual stuff, and you read it and you feel overwhelmed. And I know I've been there, you know, I've been there with this, through this with my sister. You read it, you feel overwhelmed, you know, with all the medical stuff and everything else. But when you're reading a book like yours, you know, well, this is how I feel today, and it's a roller coaster, and it actually, when people are going through things, they feel isolated, they feel alone, they feel like they're the only ones that are feeling this or going through this. Or I see other people going through cancer, they're not punching walls, or they're not screaming at the cat, and they're not bursting into tears every 5 minutes. They seem to have their shit together. So then when they read your journal, it's kind of like, oh, well, now I don't feel alone. You know, this is normal to go through these this roller coaster of emotions. So I think it's probably a very good companion for people to have, you know, while they're going through that sort of stuff. Is that why you ended up publishing it? Just that kind of thought process?
I was sort of pushed into publishing it. I went to a hairdressing show, and it was the first one that I'd been to, you know, since I'd been diagnosed. And like I said earlier, I wasn't that, you know, this is horrible to any hairdresser thinking, you know, listening, but the Barbie hairdresser, I wasn't that person. So to walk into a room, a hairdressing night with all of these beautiful women with their faces on and their hair done, and here I am still carrying a hell of a lot of weight from the steroids from treatment. And I had about 2 inches of hair on my head. So I felt like a fish out of water. But the woman that was, she was like the MC and speaking most of the night, she came out and she started getting stuck into girls sitting in the front row that had dyed fingernails and
wow.
you know, dye all over their hands and stuff. And she's like, do you have no idea the chemicals that you are dealing with? And to, you know, it might look cool, or you might think that you're cool because you're a hairdresser and you've got dyed fingernails and stuff, but it's not. Like, you're putting your health at risk. And I'm sort of sitting there thinking, oh my God, someone in the hairdressing industry finally had the balls to say, look after yourselves. Like, we're dealing with some pretty full-on chemicals here. I do not blame hairdressing for giving me cancer. I will never know the answer for why I got cancer. I've let that ship sail and just, it is what it is. But I emailed this woman afterwards and I just said, thank you so much for saying what you did, because it's so left of field. Normally it's like, you know, oh, this is this and this is that. And those really hard conversations are never had. So I said, thank you so much. And she emailed me back and she said, wow, who the hell are you and why didn't you come and speak to me? I said, oh, I've got kids, had to get home, blah, blah, blah. Didn't want to say I feel like a 10-ton Tessie with 2 inches of hair on my head, and I didn't want to be a centre of attention. But we got emailing back and forth for quite some time, and lo and behold, she was a publisher. So she said, we need to publish your story. We need to get it out there in the hairdressing industry and to the young people that you need to look after yourselves. And I don't want to change it at all. I want it written the way that you've written it. And we did it. So yeah, there was a bit of pushback from me in the beginning. I was just like, oh no, that's pretty personal. I don't want people reading my story. But then I realized I need to tell my story. At the time I was diagnosed, there are not many 27-year-olds out there that was diagnosed with my type of breast cancer that I had. So I knew that I had to tell my story and I had to make a difference somehow.
Yeah. See, again, the people are put in front of us to make sure that we do that thing. And she's so right that it has to be out there. And I think that when we think about what our thing, whatever that is, a product or service or whatever it is going to help beyond us, it's going to help other people. It kind of gets us out of our own way a little bit. We step aside and say, well, I'm not doing this. It's not about how I feel. This is about the help I'm going to bring to other people. So, yeah.
100%. And that's why I do what I do. I know I'm making a difference to at least one person in the room or one reader of my book, then job's done.
And you're spot on there, and I say that all the time. You don't have to change the world. If you can make a difference to one person, you've been successful, and that's your measure of success. Not everyone will agree with me. I don't give a shit, but you do, so that's great. And I'm only talking to you right now, so that's good. Anyone else who's listening, but that's fantastic. So I absolutely love it. So so writing this book, did you face these kind of thoughts like, who am I to write this? Nobody's going to want to read it. This guilt for other people who aren't going to survive. I mean, I know there are people facing that. I've only got 3 months to live, which is bloody horrible. And their families, for families of people who have passed. Did you feel like this immense sense of guilt? And I'm just Kate. And how'd you push past that? By the way, for those people just listening, she's nodding. Yes.
Like I said earlier, I'm just Kate. I'm Kate, the country bumpkin. So I had to push past that to start with. Like, it's who writes a book? Like, which country chick writes a book and goes and publishes it? So I had to get out of, like you said, get out of my own way. I had to get out of my own way before I could. To put it out there to everyone, and I touched on it earlier, that who would want to read my journey? Like, and everybody's journey is different. So what's going to sell books that it's me? Like, and again, I'm not a celebrity, so how am I going to sell books with just Kate Gale? But there are always going to be naysayers, whether or not you write a book, whether or not you do a podcast, whether or not you are a celebrity. Not everyone's going to like you, and not everybody is going to enjoy reading your book or your words or the way you write. So, yeah, I did have a lot of pushback from myself there. And I have a little bit of a saying with one of my girlfriends, and it just started off as a silly thing, but I've taught my girls to do it, and it might sound a bit sassy, but I always say, don't hate me because you ain't me.
Yeah.
I've got to love myself before I can love anybody else. Yeah. So, and we still say it as a joke. Like, my girlfriend, you get your hair done. She goes, God, I love your hair. And I go, yeah, don't hate me because you ain't me. But I still get really nervous when I go to speak at events or, do podcasts or interviews and stuff. But I really rev myself up beforehand, and I say it to myself, don't hate me because you ain't me, Kate. Push through, dream big.
Yeah.
So like I said, if I can help one person with my words, then I've done my job. And if you don't like my book, then that's fine. That's your choice. Yeah. But it did take me a long time to get to that point of being okay with that. Like, even bringing it out I live in Ballarat now, and my hometown of Ballarat. And I had to be careful with using doctors' names, or you know, the way that, you know, I was fobbed off in the beginning, and I had to be careful that way. And I was really scared to bring my book out, or, you know, The Breast Is Yet to Come, out in Ballarat, because I was worried about the pushback from you know, from the medical world. But quite the actual opposite happened. And all my nurses that nursed me, and some of my doctors that treated me, they loved it, and they said that this needs to get out there for more medical staff to understand from a patient's point of view.
Yeah.
And I'd never thought about it that way. So yeah, I was really happy that, you know, I pushed through the naysayers and the voices in my head saying you're not good enough or your words aren't good enough, because I know I've made a difference here in Ballarat. I know that the medical world looks at things differently and does testing differently since I was diagnosed. So
fantastic.
That in itself is a big thing.
Yeah. And like you say, you know, some people aren't going to like you, and some aren't going to like the way you write. However, as we talked about, that one person that you might save their life, your words and the way you write them and the way you speak, it might be exactly what that person needs to hear to save their life, you know, and to make a difference to them. Even if, when I say save their life, it might not, you know, they might get through cancer, but they still might be mentally unwell, you know, and you might be reading your words might be making them feel like, you know what, I feel okay about myself now, you know, because Kate went through that, you know, and I resonate with her. So I think that we're all of us do that kind of stuff. Who'd want to listen to me? You know, I don't care anymore. You know, I used to think that a long time ago, but I've been on stage since I was 15. So that's 43 years. So I really have well and truly gotten over the who wants to listen to me, because I don't really care. Do you know, it's kind of like bad luck. But same with this podcast.
Even to see somebody, like to see, for somebody to see you on stage speaking and seeing how you just grasp life by the balls and do it, that's inspiring. To see me, you know, from another cancer patient's point of view, to see that I've got through it, and to see that I'm okay, and there is life after cancer. It doesn't always have to be a sentence. That's inspiring. So yeah, it's not just the words, it's the way you take the time to speak to people, or just to even visualize somebody that has been there and done it, can get somebody through.
100% agree. And you're right, people don't have to read your book, people don't have to listen to my podcast. That is perfectly fine, because we're not here for those people. What we are here for are the people who need it, the people who want it, the people who resonate. And if we take ourselves out of the market because we fear what other people are going to say, those people who need us miss out. So we just have to keep 100% keep plonking ourselves in there. Now, I want to get to this bit, because I love this bit. Since I'm going to talk more about your other book in a minute, because I had some great laughs and some great, oh my God, that's just up the road from me stuff. Before we do, when we talked about your earlier goals, you said, just get married, have kids, and hairdresser. And no. There's something that you absolutely missed. And, you know, we've got to hear about this. If you could have married John Farnham, you would have. No, we won't say that, because your husband Bob might be listening. But truly, you know, you've got this absolute love
my JF.
Now, one of your lifelong goals was to meet him, and you know, like we said at the very start, you're a go-getter. You bloody well go after what you want, and you did get to meet him. Tell us.
I did. Well, I have. My dad's a muso, so we have been brought up with all sorts of music, like throughout my life. Like I even like a good old yodel, but John Farnham was never in there. Like, I don't know where my love for John Farnham came from. I do remember walking into a shop in the sale centre and buying the Whispering Jack tape, the cassette tape, and opening it up, those tiny little words to, you know, sing along every word. Loved John Farnham. So I've been to every concert I can imagine since I was old enough, since the parents will let me go. And he was coming to Ballarat for the Red Hot Summer Tour, and there was a thing on the local radio station to give away free VIP tickets, win VIP tickets to the Red Hot Summer Tour that he was headlining. So, of course, I'm all over it. I've entered it. And their Facebook page turned into a, come on, guys, you have to give this to Kate Gale. She is a huge John Farnham fan. So, lo and behold, it was going to be 8 o'clock that day, 8 a.m. They're going to announce it. And, oh, my God, I thought my heart was going to jump out of my chest. Like, even if I didn't win them, I was still going to this concert. I was going to buy the tickets, but I wanted those VIP tickets. And, big drum roll. And then the radio announcer said, Kate Gale. Well, I cried like a baby. Like, I screamed, I jumped, I cried. Anywho, the day that it came around, and I was allowed to take a girlfriend with me, so I took my chemo buddy Tabitha with me, and I was also allowed to take the girls. But it was 132 days from the day that I won those tickets to the day of the concert, and I decided that I was going to start a Facebook countdown. So for 132 days, I put a photo up of John Farnham, and I never doubled up once. It was always a different photo.
Wow. And
it would have a little caption on it, you know, come on, it's time to have a beer with Kate, John. Or lots of different ones. Lon, I didn't know, but quite a few friends had been in touch or tried to make contact with his manager, Glenn Wheatley. And I'm sitting underneath this tree at the Ballarat Gardens in 40-degree heat, and I get a phone call.
At the concert?
At the concert. And I get a phone call and it says, hello, Kate. And I said, yes. He says, Glenn Wheatley. And I went, no, it's not. I said, who's playing Funny Buggers with me? And he goes, no, it's really Glenn Wheatley. And I said, yeah, righto. What do you want then, Glenn? Still thinking someone's playing Funny Buggers with me. And he said, oh, I believe that you want to meet John. And I said, oh, who doesn't? I said, but yeah, love to meet him. And he said, we'll be at the VIP entrance at 8 p.m. You're coming backstage. And I went, the penny dropped. I went, what? He goes, we've been watching your countdown. And I went, oh my God. So he said, please don't tell anybody sitting around you. We don't want to, hysteria. But who's with you? And I said, oh, Tabitha, my chemo bud, and my 2 daughters. And he said, 8 p.m, security guards will bring you backstage. So 8 p.m. I was there, and we got taken backstage, and we got to meet all the band and a few of the other artists for the night. And then they took us around the back of a gazebo, and I thought, what the hell are they doing? Like, we're in the middle of nowhere. And then all of a sudden, John and Glenn started walking out. So I got to spend, it was probably about 20, 25 minutes with him. And he was so nervous. And I said, why are you nervous? I said, you're John Farnham. And he said, I hate meeting people like this. He said, because I want to be who you think I am. I don't want you to walk away from here and thinking, oh, wow, I've loved this man forever, and I've loved his music forever, and I'm an arsehole.
Oh, wow. Wow.
And I went, I don't think that at all. I said, I think you're very humble, and the fact that you're interacting with my children and you're asking about me. And I said, no, I'm forever grateful. I said, but I do want to thank you for one thing. And he said, what's that? And I said, you sang Dare to Dream, a song with Olivia Newton-John at the Sydney Olympics at the opening ceremony. He said, yeah. And I said, every single day I played that song on the way to radiation. And I said, because it just made me go that little bit further and dig that little bit deeper, that I can do this and I can get through it. And I said, I used to cry all the way, the same place, same time, every day. And I played that same song. And I said, but that was the reason I wanted to meet you, because I wanted to thank you for that song. Yeah. And then he started to well up. Well, he started to well up, and he just said, he goes, that means everything to me, Kate. And he just hugged me like your dad hugs you. Oh. So it was just amazing. But to be able to share that with Tab, who had sat beside me the entire way through our treatments, and that is a lifelong friendship that we should never have met in the way that we did, but we have. and to show my girls that no matter how big you dream, you can make it happen. So, and I made it happen.
Oh wow, I think there's a few people who'd be listening very jealous, thinking, wow, man. And that you're absolutely right in that you know, when you really put your mind to it, when you really focus on something, you know, and you're really going to go at it, you can make things happen. You know, like,
absolutely.
You doing the Facebook page, the countdown, you know, it attracts attention. It's just like stepping up, isn't it? Just stepping into something.
Absolutely. And just the small things, like my daughter Bree, she just said the other day, and it was just one word that she said, and I thought, wow, you actually do listen to me. And she said, I'm gonna put that out to the world, Mum. I'm gonna manifest that. I'm like, yes, you know, it's like just the little things that you want to make happen, you can bloody well make it happen.
Yeah. Look, I believe in that. I believe you make a decision that for something to happen, you put it out to the universe, and then the universe starts to conspire to make it happen. And it's kind of really, it's about our brain, you know, being switched on to focusing on, you know, looking for the things that we're actually looking for. But I think we underestimate the power of our own ability to manifest, you know, what we want. So I really love that story. Now we're all sort of excited. Everything's John Farnham. So this is a bit of a roller coaster podcast for anyone listening. So been through the whole.
Sorry, guys. I've been up and down.
Who's Kate? Oh shit! Now she's got cancer. Oh, now she meets John Farnham and writes a book and everything else. But you know, you're on this road to recovery. You've written your book. I'm going to help women and everything else. I met John, and we're all good. Sort of. You know, it's good enough. It's a good life. Kate's got everything she wants now. I just want to have my kids and relax and get away from cancer. Then you get the big second kick in the guts, and not you this time, but tell us about that.
Yeah, so kick in the guts is exactly the way to put it. My husband, Bob, was diagnosed with renal cancer in 2012, actually, the year that I brought my first book out. But only a month earlier, we lost my nan to bowel cancer. So, you know, we were sort of just, anytime I hear that anybody is diagnosed with cancer, I feel like I've been kicked in the guts. So to lose Nan and to know that Nan had to go through that was really hard. But to be in an emergency room with your husband thinking that he had kidney stones, and to see the head of emergency walk towards me, and he looked after me quite a few times, so I knew him quite well. And I just knew by the look on his face, and he put his hand on my shoulder and he said, we've found a tumour. And yeah, that moment, apart from me having to put my head between my knees, and I just screamed because I couldn't believe that I was in that position again. That was the defining moment in my life that made me really sit back and reassess life and me. Because when you're going through a cancer diagnosis, everybody goes through that cancer diagnosis. However, you're the one that's going through the treatment. So you have control to some degree of what's going to happen, or you feel like you're doing something. And then when it's my husband, it was completely out of my hands. And I just had to be that person to sit back and watch him go through hell that I knew what he was about to go through. So, yeah, that was a big kick in the guts for me. But at the same time, that was the moment my life changed in a big way, not because I had cancer, because somebody I loved so dearly had cancer. Yeah.
So you were sort of flipped onto the opposite side of it, and yeah, and see, did you feel like, what sort of I don't know, I guess aha moments did you kind of have sitting on the other side of it, thinking, oh my God, is that what it was like? Is that what it was like for him? You know, was he feeling these things when he was trying to help me? And you know,
yep, it was a bit of a sobering moment, actually, because my life revolved around me. And it's not that I made it about me, but it was Kate's got cancer. Kate has to have surgery. Kate has to have treatment. Kate this, Kate that, Kate. And I actually had a girlfriend say to me who had been through breast cancer herself, and she said, don't forget about Bob, because he is going down this road with you and he feels like he can't do anything. Don't forget about Bob. And I didn't. I always had that in the back of my mind, that you poor bugger, like, I'm putting you through hell, that, you know, we have to go to the hospital. We have to do this. I can't drive because I've had surgery. It was just this massive, big culmination of crap. And I put him through that. And then when I was on the other side of it, it was like you said, it was an aha moment of, right, my life, the last 5 years has been about me. This is now about him. This is now about us. This is a completely different look on life. And I was angry. I was angry that it was us that was going through it again. You know, I was pissed at the world. I was annoyed at the doctors and stuff, because it's just like, are you for real? Like, he's got kidney stones. It was just a complete and utter mind game that I didn't want to be in. I didn't want to be there. But something just switched inside me, and I went, you know, I've got to be there for him. He's done it for me. Now I have to do this for him. And it's not about me. It's not all about me. It's a bigger picture. It's a much bigger picture. And I have to change the way that I'm looking at cancer.
Yeah.
It's not about how much money I can raise or how much awareness I can raise. It was about not being front and center. I had to step back, reassess, and get my mind in the right position to help him, because I wasn't okay.
Yeah.
And it was his diagnosis that I realized, I'm not all right. I need help. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
but I think it's also that the fact that, you know, you when you're going through it, you feel like you're a burden on other people. But then when it's switched around and he's going through it, and you want to help, and you realize, well, he's not a burden, so maybe I wasn't a burden. You know, maybe it wasn't as bad as what I thought it was. But
there's a lot of guilt, and I think with both his diagnosis and mine, guilt from mine of, I didn't, like you said, burden is a perfect word. I didn't want to be a burden on anybody. But then there was a guilt from, you know, his diagnosis, that why? And I know it wasn't his fault, but why are we going through this again? And then I felt guilty that I was doing the why me. And that's the first thing I say to people, don't do the why me, because you're never going to get that answer. You're never going to get a definitive answer of why you have cancer. So don't go down that rabbit warren. But I did.
yeah.
So it was the guilt that I had to drop on both parts. And yeah, just reassess and get my mind in the right place of, we're both here. We're both okay now. Yeah, we were handed a really shit deal, but we're okay. So turn, and this is my big thing, turn the negative into a positive.
Yeah.
There is always a positive to a negative, so find it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the big positive with that is that so he had a tumor in his kidney. They got it all. It took a kidney, unfortunately, but the good. So there's the positive. However, we got it again, didn't we? I might as well jump in your story. You know, we got it.
We did. Yeah, a few years ago, Bob had a lump in his throat that the doctor sort of ummed and ahed about a lot. And in the end, you know, the ear, nose and throat specialist said, yeah, it's a lump and it shouldn't be there, so it's going. So yeah, luckily, it you know, it was precancerous. It wasn't, we weren't in a world of trouble like we were the last two times. So again, we had to go through the whole testing process and the surgeries and the worry and whatnot. But thankfully this one had a bit of a smile at the end of it. We were okay.
You better start telling the universe from now on, right, that's it. We've done it. We're having a cancer-free life from now on. But
yeah.
oh my God, and I think you're right, because we don't know why it's there. Well, sometimes we do. I mean, some people can say, well, I played with chemicals all my life, and fair enough, I can see it. But most of the time that comes out of nowhere, it's a shock. We don't know what happened. But I think that, we're, as we said before, it's about that mental attitude, and it's about saying, well, I can't do anything, but if I let myself go down a really shitty negative narrative, it's actually going to do me more harm than good. And the only, I guess, your best chance of survival, other than treatments, and that's debatable too, as to what treatments do to you, but is your positive mindset is probably the best. I can't think of the word. The best weapon. You've got to.
It is, and it is a weapon. It's, that's another thing that I teach every single day. It's you need to be positive in anything, not just a cancer diagnosis, in anything. Yeah, life can throw us some really bad curveballs. Make them lessons though. Turn them into lessons and learn from them. Tabitha actually said to me very early on, she said, you don't have a choice in the hand that you're dealt, but you have a choice in the way that you play it.
Yeah.
And I live by that every single day. And, I say that, cancer's crap. Like, cancer is an awful thing, but, and my parents hate me saying this, so sorry, Mum and Dad, but I am so thankful that I got cancer.
Yeah.
You could have stopped at me, though. You didn't have to do that. My husband and whatnot. But I'm so thankful that I had cancer, because I wouldn't be who I am today. Yeah. I wouldn't be the person sharing my story and twice published, author. I wouldn't be that person if it wasn't for cancer. So I am 100% hand on heart so thankful that I walked a cancer road.
Yeah. Most people say that, and yet I get on stage quite often and say, for God's sake, don't wait for adversity. Just step into your best self, like be your best self before that shit has to hit us to make us wake up, But I mean, I can talk to, sometimes I get down a little bloody, negative little path. I mean, we all do it, but I keep waking myself up saying, Jesus Christ, you keep going down that path, something bad will happen, and then you're going to be stuck with that bloody adversity, and that'll be the kick in the guts to make you bloody get back on track. So get back on track now and move your ass. So now you, the second book, here I am holding it up, but Kate's also got it in the background. If you can see it, it's called Thanks for the Mammaries. I had cancer, but it never had me. This book is fantastic. And, I'm a bit biased actually, because you write it about living in Sale, and of course that's where I live now. So as I'm reading it, I'm imagining all the, your nana and your grandparents' house, and and I did email you and say, hey, is your nana's house that one out at near the, yes, that's it, and it's kind of like, I guess when you can put two and two together and you put a place to the name and a face to the name and that sort of stuff, it's quite exciting. This book is really, it's fantastic, because I think Thanks for the Mammaries, and the kind of, the play on the word memories, and you also finish it off talking to your girls about, some life lessons in there about, advice you'd give to your girls, but the memories are, about your life, and I've absolutely loved it. I'll talk about it in a minute, but you talked about your mama and papa, your grandparents. Now, when I was a little kid, I named my grandparents Mama and Papa, and when I met Nikki, my partner, she's the first person I've ever met who calls her grandmother Mama. And then I'm reading your book, and it says, oh, my kids called them Mama and no, we called them, my kids called them Mama and Papa. Or now I can't remember. I'm bloody making a fool of myself.
The girl, my kids started calling them Mama and Papa.
Mama and Papa. And it's like, oh my God, I love, you made me have all these just delightful memories. So you're almost giving me thanks for the memories, memories. Well, we'll say memories, but we used to go to my grandparents' house every Sunday night, and you talk about this in the book, and that stuff. I mean, I'm so glad that but there's going to be other people our age, or at least 40 plus, who used to go to their grandparents on Sunday night. We've lost a lot of that, and you made this country girl just seem so real, and so what's the word, just like I knew you, and even if I didn't have those similarities in there, it's not kind of like this Kate Gale, this other person who had cancer, and well, that's not really doesn't resonate with me. It did, because of your life, and the way you wrote that. And I love it. What was the motivation for writing this book? Like the first one you kind of just got thrust into, but what about this one?
This one I started when Bob was diagnosed. So again, I knew that the writing had helped me so much during my diagnosis that I went, you know what, let's go back there. Let's go there. This one's not so much of a diary. This is more, I had to find, when I realized that I wasn't okay and that I was allowing adversity to take over and I was allowing cancer to take over, I had to find a new normal, because the old Kate had left the building. Like that Kate left the day that I was diagnosed. Life changes. We all change. But I had just, kept going, like rolled with it. And then I, realized that I wasn't all right. So I had to stop. So writing Thanks for the Mammaries was more about, who am I? And I had to bring it back to, where did I start? Where did I come from? Why am I so family orientated? And the good things, take the good things out of life. My grandparents and my parents, they were the people, and well, I still look up to my parents. They're the people that I looked up to and I molded myself on. So I want my girls to have the same thing that I did growing up. I want them to have that relationship with their grandparents. I want them to look at Bob and I in the future and go, you know what, they're all right.
Yeah.
And they made our life, what it is. They've given us the memories. So yeah, I had to go back to, who am I, and my new normal. But then when I started writing that, there was other things that I sort of started looking at differently. And there's one bit in there where I'm driving past the town hall in Ballarat and I noticed the flag flying on top of the town hall. I'd never noticed it. But then it started, making me think, how many other things do we just go through life and not notice because we're busy, or we just don't care to notice?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's Thanks for the Mammaries is more about finding my new normal and taking back me, taking back the reins, and I'm going to show my girls what life's about rather than crap.
Yeah, absolutely. And listening to Kate now, you might be thinking, oh, well, I'm not going to read that book because it's just about Kate's life and her legacy to her kids. Well, that's not it. Yes, in that sense that, how Kate's saying it, but but take it from me, you resonate with it. It's kind of like a really lovely reminder for all of us to say, well, life has taken us. May not be cancer, but it may be any other turn of events. Life has taken us on this journey, and it's constantly pulling us away, always pulling us away from who we truly are and where our roots are, and what has made us us. And to read that book, it really, really takes you back to start to think, who am I? This is who I am today, and this is why I am this person today, because of the past, because of the grounding I got. And you and I are both coming from a place of having a great family, and we can read it and, or you write it, me read it, think about having a wonderful family, and that is our foundation. There can also be people, though, that have had a shitty childhood, but who can still read it and start to put things into perspective a bit better and say, shit, I didn't have it good, but I do now, thanks to role models that I've had in my life. And, and
I ask questions. I want people to read those words, and then, like you said, you sit there and you reflect on it and go, okay, that was a crappy part of my life, but look where I am now.
Yeah.
Or look where I can be or could be. Yeah. So it's just a question. Question yourself and who you want to be, where you want to be, and make it happen.
Oh, but I love it. And these are legacies, and they're not just for you kids. They're legacies because, as we talked about before, that book's now out there, and which it won't, which it's not going to be this minimizing it, absolutely. But even if there was only one person in the world that read that and it made their heart feel good, or it made them feel like they could believe, that's worth every goddamn word you wrote. It 100% is, and it's always going to be there. I love it.
100%. I still myself pick up my books, and I can honestly say, since Bringing Out the Breast Is Yet to Come, I have never read that book from start to finish since it's been in a book form, because by the time I got to the end of, the editing process and, the publishing and God, that's a story in itself. Just,
yep.
All the things that went wrong with publishing with both the books, actually. I pick the books up and I open up and I read like a sentence, and it jogs my memory. I go, oh yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah. So it's, I don't know, it's joy wrapped up in pages is the way I like to look at it.
Yeah, I love it. Well, I've never read either of mine either, other than the last proofread, and then that's it. But every now and then, I know I've got to get off the bench, because now I don't agree with some of the things I wrote. But but if I ever get there, I do. But if I don't, because I've realised that when I wrote it, I had something in my head, but when I read it back, I'm like, yeah, that's not exactly what I meant. So but anyway.
I'm hearing you. I'm hearing you.
It doesn't matter.
Rewrite both of mine.
It is what it is. It's it is what it is. And I've had so many people saying to me, that book has kick-started my project. Stacks of people. So you know what, it's working. So we'll forget it. Now you're speaking now. So now you're doing speaking events, and so what message? What's the main message that you're hoping to get across to people?
Just to take control of your life, no matter what life throws at you. Like, you can do anything if you put your mind to it. Yeah. I've touched on it, that I don't want to be defined as the cancer person. And I know I speak at a lot of cancer events and things like that. However, my book, Thanks for the Mammaries, I had cancer, but it never had me. It says it all in that. It never had me. So any adversity that's thrown in your direction, you can overcome it. And that's the biggest thing I want to get out there to people, that if you want it, go for it. Grab it with both hands and run. Yeah.
Oh, I love it. And funny enough, now you want to be a hairdresser, but then I know I read it in your book there, that you don't want to do that anymore, that's done. And now, oddly enough, and it's kind of, maybe they need you in there, now you're working in the health industry, so in the medical system. So is that good, bad, or are you glutton for punishment, or you just want to
I loved my job. I never in a million years would I have thought that I would hang up the hairdressing scissors, because it's everything I ever wanted to do. But yeah, I got to a point where I just went, I don't love this anymore. And I need a change. And I think that was, once Bob had been diagnosed, I needed a new me. So I was going to completely have a new me. And again, universe worked in my favor, and just speaking to a girlfriend and ended up having an interview for a receptionist at an allied health clinic. And I thought, perfect, casual job, not a problem. I want to take some time out for me, so casual's fine with me. And 4 years later, I'm now the practice manager of that allied health clinic. I absolutely love it. Yeah.
Kate Gale, the overachiever.
Yeah. I just, I have come up against some ripping receptionists in my time, with some really bad attitudes and some really crappy ways of dealing with people. And I just think, being in the position that I am now, I've got empathy for people. I know that people are in a medical place for a reason. Like they're in pain or they're injured, and their mind's not necessarily in the nice place. So I find that a challenge. Like I try and, somebody speaks to me rudely, I understand why you're there and why you're speaking rudely. So I find that a challenge to soften them up and make them feel better and make them know that we actually care and that they're come to us for a reason and we're going to help them. So I love it.
And I think that's you're always in fear. I don't care what anyone says. When you go into the doctors, there's always an element of fear that's sitting underneath there, and it's we never behave normally or well. When we're struggling with fear, we're always defensive. We're always passive aggressive, and even if we don't mean to be, that fear just takes over. But well, I'm glad you're there because we do need more empathy in a lot of medical places. But now I always have this question, but I think you answered it. But I'm still going to throw it at you. So because of get off the bench, let's to inspire people to get off the bench, take action. So what advice would you give to people facing a serious illness, or perhaps are ready to give into it because that happens too? Just I give up, or maybe they feel hopeless. So, and keeping in mind that some people are losing their battle, but what advice would you give them to kick into life as best they can, or
Yeah, that's a really hard one to answer. However, I will always go back to the positive and the negative. Like, yes, you've been handed a terminal illness and you're not going to make it, but you can make it the best you can until the end. Same as any serious illness, make the most of it. Like, you're going to have your crappy days, but the good days, make the most of them. So my motto every day is to dream big. Just keep dreaming big, but there's always hope, always some sort of hope to hold on to. So
it's probably difficult. Sorry, I put you on the spot. It's a terrible question, but it's and that dream big. You sent me a sticker, and I've got it on my I've got it on my bathroom mirror down the bottom left over the bench. Kate says, "Send me a photo." I'm like, "Oh bloody hell! I've got to do gymnastics to get the bloody photo." But I've got the photo, so I'm going to see. I've got it, so I'm going to send it to you. But it's a lovely. I look at it every day, and it's a wonderful reminder. Just to give another kick. Just go for it. Actually, things have changed since I put that on there. I'm just thinking I've been more productive than normal. Anyway.
There you go.
That's fantastic. Now, where can people find you? Website, Facebook?
All on Kate Gale Author, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and my website is kategaleauthor.com. So you can learn a little bit more about me on there. You can buy my book, you can buy the Dream Big stickers, and also some blogs. I don't just stick to cancer-related blogs. I have a moment of, I'm going to write about that. So, there's a few blogs on there that you can also check out.
Fantastic. And you can book Kate as a speaker as well if you want to inspire a bunch of women, or not just women, men, but if you want a speaker that's going to talk about overcoming adversity, or dreaming big and sort of taking on challenges and looking at it differently and positively, Kate's available. So I hope I'm sure you've enjoyed this, and imagine how good Kate would be at your conference or at something else at your event. So Kate, I have absolutely loved this. This has been brilliant. We finally got to it. I had hay fever 2 days ago and had to cancel, but this is it's just been wonderful chatting with you, and you're just doing some great stuff, and I'm so bloody, I feel connected to you anyway, because we're both country girls from the same place, and
Salesian girls.
But you're just wonderful, and you speak. I love that you speak so frankly about all this stuff, and this is what we need more of. We need more honesty, conversation on the table. And
I keep it real. That's how I speak, and that's how I write. I like to just put it all out there on the table, and for people to ask me any question that they want to, open book.
Yeah. Fantastic. Oh, I've got a question for. No, I haven't. I'm just joking. No, I'm just teasing you. No, but this has been absolutely brilliant. So thank you for joining us. And
Thank you very much for having me.
my pleasure. And I'm looking forward to crossing paths one day in person and having a coffee with you. I reckon that'd be pretty, or maybe a beer. Maybe we better get on heavy stuff.
Bring it on, the old Gippy.
Good on you. All right. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, see ya.